This is Robert Allen. I want to be your instructor, your mentor, your guide. All right, we want to teach every one of you how to become financially independent, how to become rich, how to become wealthy, how to create streams of income that flow from now through the rest of your life. How many of you have already tried to make money in one way or another and have not been successful? Say yes. I also am going to say yes to that because, yes, I've lost money at various different projects and ideas. Matter of fact, one of the reasons that I'm going to be a great coach for you is because I've lost a lot of money in a lot of different ways. And so I understand exactly what it's like to try to build your dream. We all have dreams, don't we? Dreams that we're trying to accomplish. And that's exactly what we want to make sure we pull off here for you. We want you to learn how to be financially successful and avoid all the failures that most people have. So we're going to be talking about how to achieve financial freedom. What I want you to write down on a piece of paper that you have in front of you is your name at the top of that page. Here's a phrase I want you to write down. I want to create $1 million net worth by, and I want you to fill in the blank. I want to create $1 million by, and write you to fill in the date. As you write that down, you got the date. How many of you wrote a date that was less than a year from today? Say yes. And how many of you wrote a date that was between a year and 5 years from today? Say yes. And how many of you wrote a date that was further away than 5 years? Oh, everybody wants to make $1 million in less than 5 years, right? Here's what I'd like you to do. First of all, that statement that you wrote down that I want to create $1 million by, and you wrote the date down, I want you to sign it. Sign your name to that. Now, the real question that should come to your mind is, how am I going to do that? Because everybody always asks how. And how is one of the weakest words you can ask. What's more important is, what's so important in your life that you're willing to do whatever it takes to do that? And that's what you're going to need to have to figure out. Because every one of us is good at starting things, but very few of us are good at finishing things. Our goal here is to teach you how to finish it. How many of you have ever started off with something and tried to create some financial success for yourself and then quit after a while because it got too hard, or it was too lonely, or was too difficult, or was too expensive? You ever had that experience? If you have, then you know what I'm talking about. And that's what we want to make sure we have happens here, that you start this process and finish it this time for the rest of your life. And so, as you write down and sign your name to that statement up there, I want to create $1 million before X date, what you really done is set your mind in motion so that you can create the kind of future that you really want. All right? All right, how are we going to do that? Well, suppose you received a letter from a very official sounding person who says that you actually were listed as an heir in the will of your long lost cousin. You didn't even know they existed. You are now a millionaire, and the money's been placed into a Swiss bank account. It's in cash, stacked up in $100 bills. The money is there, and there's no question about that. Unfortunately, your long lost cousin had a sense of humor and basically said, in order for you to earn that $1 million, the key to that safety deposit box has been transported across the ocean up to Alaska, a little north of Anchorage. There's a mountain there called Denali Mountain Range, or previously called Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley is the tallest mountain in North America at 20,320 feet high. This is a mountain that your cousin tells you, or your deceased cousin, that the key to your safety deposit box has been placed in a silver container and transported to the top of Mount McKinley. And if you want that money, you have to climb that mountain. And you have 12 months to do it. If you haven't climbed it within 12 months, then the money is lost to you forever. The question I want to ask you is, would you climb that mountain for $1 million if you knew the money was there? And most of you are going to say yes to that, of course. 95% of the people that I ask that question to say yes to that question. And I ask them, how many of you are mountain climbers? And nobody is a mountain climber. How many of you have ever climbed a mountain? Very few. How many of you have a fear of heights? Many people have a fear of heights. And what is their answer when I tell them what they're going to do about that fear of heights? They say, we're just going to have to get over it. We'll have to go to a psychiatrist or somebody who's going to help us get over that fear of heights. And I said, what else are you going to need to get to that top of that mountain in 12 months? And they tell me over and over and over again what they need is the right kind of equipment. They need a guide to get them there. And would you go with a guide that had never been there before? Would you go with a guide that had told you that they were good at it but couldn't prove to you that they'd been to the top of that mountain before? And what would you pay that guide to get you to the top of a mountain climbing? And the answer is you'd pay that guide a nice, good piece of that $1 million just to make sure that he or she could get you to the top of that mountain and back down safely, because you've got to do something you've never done before. Now, most of you on this call have never made $1 million. I have. Many, many, many times. What I'm trying to point out to you tonight is whether I'm your guide or not, you need a guide that's going to get you to the top of this mountain. My guide was a gentleman that happened to be in a church group that I belonged to, and I'd graduated with my master's in business in 1974 during a very bad recession, and I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find a career that would take me, to tell you the truth. And I basically said to myself, well, this could either be a disaster or it could be the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. And I decided to choose to make it be the luckiest thing that ever happened. And so I started looking around, and instead of being focused on a career and working for somebody else, I found a multimillionaire who happened to be in my church group. And I said to him, Paul, I want to be a millionaire. I really don't want to have a career and work for somebody else. I just want to do my own thing. And he happened to be a multimillionaire in real estate, and I worked with him for 6 months for peanuts, by the way. I mean, I should have been able to earn a much, much larger salary, but I was willing to work for peanuts for this guy because I knew that if I could just spend 6 months with him, he could change my life, and he did. I came to him with my first real estate deal. I said, Paul, what do you think? And he said, go for it. Looks good. Made my first deal. It turned out fabulously. My second deal, 7-unit apartment building. Go for it. I bought it. It turned out fabulously. And on and on. After 6 months, I felt I didn't need him. It was a mistake. You're always going to need mentors to get you to the next level. And I've had 42 mentors in the last 20 years. People have taken me and coached me, taken me by the hand, taken me up parts of the mountain that I didn't know anything about. Every time I've tried to do it on my own, I always make mistakes. But these 42 mentors, all the way from Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He was one of my mentors in college. I was his research assistant at BYU. From him all the way to, a person who only spends a day with me, coaching and guiding me. Frankly, you're going to need a lot of mentors in this process up to the top of this mountain. So the first step in our conversation today is for you to realize that around you there are people who have already done what you want to do. And the problem with most of us is we don't know how to contact them. We don't know how to get them to mentor us. I mean, they're already busy doing what they want to do. Shall I tell you what the secret is? You don't go to that person. You say, please, I want to go to lunch with you. And then you take them to lunch. And please, 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 I know you're rich and I'm not. I really want to learn what you know. Please tell me how to do it. That doesn't work. So don't try that. What you do when you interview your millionaire mentors is you ask them, what are your 3 most important projects? What are the 3 things that you're working on this year? What are the 3 top priorities that you have? Because I want you to realize that you're never going to get to the top of your mentor's priority list unless you help them accomplish their goal. I know that sounds kind of backwards. I mean, you've come to them and you said, I want you to mentor me. But in reality, they are so busy, they don't have time to mentor you. The only way you get through is you find out what it is they're doing and make sure you help them get what they want. And then they are beholden to you. They have to help you. They have to squeeze out some time to help you. For instance, I had an assistant. I was looking for an assistant. I needed somebody to help me. I'm very, very busy. And it happened to be one of the people who had been taking a program that I was teaching, and she said, I want to be your secretary. I want to do for you the things I know you need done. And I hired her. If I can be frank about it, I hired her. And she's doing an incredible job for me. But guess what? When it came time for me to present her book proposal to my publisher, since she had done such a fabulous job for me, I had to take her with me to New York City and literally walk her into my publisher's office and sit her down face to face across the desk from my own editor and to tell my editor that I'm referring to my assistant now, that Maria, who is my assistant, has written a fabulous book and you must look at it. You see how that all came about? And so the first step in this process, if you want to get to the top of this mountain, is you find a mentor who can coach you and guide you.